Hi, I'm Julie from Cultures for Health. If you've received your milk kefir grains in the mail, it's time to get started making milk kefir. The first step is to rehydrate your kefir grains so we can get them activated and ready to make milk kefir for you. So let's get started. So now that you've received your kefir grains in the mail, the first step is to activate the culture by rehydrating the kefir grains. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So you'll want your box of kefir grains. I'll get these opened up. Now the kefir grains come with some instructions. Please read these thoroughly before going any further. They include lots of great tips as well as recipes. So once you get started making kefir, there are some ideas of how to incorporate kefir into your diet. You can do a lot of things with kefir, including cooking with it. So here's your packet of milk kefir grains. We're going to go ahead and get this opened up. There they are. Okay, so the milk kefir grains come in a dried format, so they're this generally a deep yellow color, and they've been packaged with some powdered milk, some organic powdered milk. So that's the powdery stuff on my hand there. So we're going to add the entire contents of the envelope to this jar. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and add a cup of milk, and you can use a little bit less if you'd like. About a cup works. And then you want to go ahead and cover this jar with either a paper coffee filter or a tea towel or something with a nice tight weave. The gas that emits from kefir grains when they're rehydrating or when they're making kefir tends to attract bugs like fruit flies and ants. So you just want to keep any bugs out of your kefir. So we'll go ahead and stick a rubber band on here. Now you're going to let this mixture sit in a reasonably warm place for about 24 hours. So on top of your refrigerator, on a shelf in your living room, someplace that generally stays between 70 and 78 degrees is best. Now at the end of the 24-hour period, we're going to strain the milk off and move the kefir grains to new milk. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So after 24 hours, I'm going to pull the kefir grains out of here. Now this is just a fine mesh plastic strainer. You can use a stainless steel strainer if necessary, but you want to be sure your strainer is stainless steel and not some other metal, because other metals can react with the kefir grains and actually cause damage. So as you can see, there are just those little yellow lumps. As the days go on, they'll start to rehydrate. And so we're going to add these kefir grains to a new jar. Set this off to the side. And we're going to add a cup of new milk to this jar. Just like that. Okay, and then cover the jar back up. You'll want to repeat this process every 24 hours for the next 4 to 7 days. Now during this time, the kefir grains are going to start to rehydrate, and they're also going to start to rebalance the yeast and bacteria that make up the kefir grains. Dehydration makes kefir grains safe to ship, but it does put them into a state of hibernation, so they need to come out of that state. Switching them from milk to new milk each day, make sure that you're not building foreign bacteria, that the bacteria in the milk isn't getting too strong and damaging the kefir grains. So it's important to switch them out every 24 hours. Now, as this process goes on, a few things are going to happen. One, the smell of the kefir is likely going to change. It'll probably start out smelling fairly sour. It may at some point smell sweet. It may smell a little yeasty. Those are all normal variations. And those just indicate that the kefir grains are coming back out of that hibernated state and are rebalancing that yeast and bacteria. After 4 to 7 days, you'll likely see a change in the texture of the kefir during the 24-hour period. So let's take a look at some kefir grains that have been hydrating for a little bit longer. So these guys have been rehydrating for about 5 days now. And so what you see is that within the 24-hour period, the milk is starting to thicken. It's not the thin milk any longer. It's actually turning to kefir in that period. So let's go ahead and strain these kefir grains out. I'm just going to set this on the table here so you can see what they look like now that they're fully hydrated. Now this is the easiest way to remove kefir grains from your finished kefir, is just to put them in a fine mesh strainer. Plastic is best, like we talked about a few minutes ago, but you can use stainless steel. And then you can use either your fingers, very clean fingers, or a spoon to kind of just gently work the kefir around. And some of it will come through the strainer on its own, some of it will need to be worked around a little bit. You know, the great thing about making kefir at home is that you can determine for yourself what type of milk you want to use for your kefir. So if you like organic milk, you may or may not be able to find organic kefir in the store, but you can make it at home. If you prefer something like non-homogenized milk or raw milk, you can also use that to make kefir as well. The only type of milk we normally don't recommend for making kefir is ultra pasteurized milk or ultra high temp milk because of the nature of the milk. The proteins generally don't work so well for culturing, so it's a bit unreliable. So there we go. This takes a second, and there we're starting to see the kefir grains, those little lumps right there. Okay, so there are your kefir grains. So after 5 days, these kefir grains have been switched to new milk in a new jar each day. And they've rehydrated, the milk has started to thicken, and you have officially made kefir. And so these kefir grains are now fully activated and they're ready to make your first official batch of kefir. Be sure to check out our kefir making video. I'm Julie from Cultures for Health, where healthy food starts.